They say they want the old Logic, the one that flow like a faucet. I'm still the same me. They just don't believe it like they're agnostic. If I spit over the boom back, they perceive it as nostalgic. But the truth is the subject matter is still the same. Production selection is still the flame. But they love you on the come up because you ain't tainted by the fame. And you still they little secret. That's the type of bullshit they frequent. I felt some type of way about that one personally.
Yeah.
I guess.
But I guess what he said, he's not in a box.
No. I understand not wanting to be in a box. But it sounds like you're kind of shitting on the people that like a particular box that you're in.
When artists get big and become a little bit more mainstream, the people that quote unquote found them typically don't like them anymore. Maybe that's what he said.
I don't know if that's the case.
I don't think that's the case. Yeah.
That's Dead in Hip Hop, I guess an album / mixtape, something like that, project review. Look, if y'all watch Dead in Hip Hop, you know we don't review everything that comes out. We try to get to what we can get to, and it is what it is. Young Sinatra IV. I'm kind of glad we did this one because I think out of all of Logic's projects, the Young Sinatra series are definitely my favorite series. And I know in the past I've said that it feels like there's a difference between mixtape Logic and album Logic.
And I think there's some relevancy here with this one as opposed to Bobby Tarantino because this is supposedly the last Young Sinatra.
Let me pull up a line because this is a line that I want to get y'all take on. But they love you on the come up because you ain't tainted by the fame. And you still they little secret. That's the type of bullshit they frequent.
But I guess what he said, he's not in a box.
No. I understand not wanting to be in a box. But it sounds like you're kind of shitting on the people that like a particular box that you're in.
When artists get big and become a little bit more mainstream, the people that quote unquote found them typically don't like them anymore. Maybe that's what he's saying.
I don't know if that's the case.
I don't think that's the case. Yeah,
that's like some young people hipster bullshit.
Right, exactly.
I don't think that that's really the case. I mean, we were all
case
happy
here with Logic.
No, you said typical. Are you just talking about Logic, or are you putting?
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, traditionally or typically.
That's what I'm saying. I don't agree with that. I'm fine when my favorite artists get big.
Yeah.
You know, when LP was small, I was just like, why is this dude so small? He should be huge. And now look at him. He's one of the biggest stars. When Kendrick was smaller, I was saying the same thing. I'm like, why isn't everyone freaking out over this guy?
But I've seen people do like Kendrick is an anomaly because the bigger he's like people like. I like when they get bigger, but I don't know, people are selfish. And most of the general hip hop fans that are like that are selfish because now everybody's listening to them.
Like now y'all own it. Now
exactly. That's more what I'm speaking to.
Only if your music changes. Logic's music changed. And I think that's the only issue I have with that statement is he's not acknowledging that his music changed. Yeah. Maybe people just don't like the other music that you're doing.
He created a division between his fans because he was doing a certain style of rap.
And he stopped doing that.
But he doesn't view it in that way. He feels that he's still giving us everything that he gave us at the beginning.
Just on different beats?
No. Just overall, like when you listen to a lot of the stuff, like especially on that track, that's one of my favorite tracks, where he's talking about like my style hasn't changed, my subject matter hasn't changed, my beat selection is still flame. What he's saying is that I'm still Logic. Why do y'all not love me? Is it because I've blown up and now I'm just not something that you can just hold near and dear because I'm something that's different? But I do feel that again, and I will double, triple, quadruple down on it, where I feel that mixtape Logic and album Logic is different. And the reason why for me, and this is the project that really proved it to me, right? Because I went back and I listened to the albums. It's not that the beat selections are bad or that the beats are bad. I just feel that in the mixtapes, he was able to take what we like in terms of traditional boom bap and make it feel new. And I feel that there wasn't a rapper, at least at the time, even now, like has done it like Logic in that way. And that's the shit that I really loved. Like, holy shit, he's taking these Jay-Z beats and these old school beats and making them new, making them feel like they just crafted them, like this was never, ever made before. You know what I'm saying? In addition to jumping on this trap shit. Because I love trap beats, you know what I'm saying? I grew up on Master P and shit, and I feel like this is just an evolution of that. And him taking everything that is hip-hop and putting it on one project. That's what made me love Logic. But then when I go to the albums, I understand that it's a little bit more pointed, it's a little bit more focused, it's a little bit more directional, but that's not what I fell in love with. And I understand, you know, being different for different projects, but to me, it just on the albums it went too far left, right?
He's saying that it's not a difference.
I know he's saying.
Yeah,
there is a difference,
right,
and I'm describing the difference from my perspective.
So did you feel some type of way about that line then?
I felt a certain type of way about a lot of Logic lines. You know what I'm saying? And yes, I do feel a certain type of way because I feel that sometimes when you are the creator, you don't see it outside looking in because you're inside. So you have not changed, you physically, how your approach to making music maybe hasn't changed. Maybe your subject matter hasn't changed. However, people like myself, and I can't speak for everybody, but people like myself, I see and hear the difference, and that's why it's a bit frustrating for me with some artists where it's kind of like they get to a certain point and it's just like, damn, what made me love you, it isn't the same anymore. Like my love, and it's not like I hate Logic, but just my love for Logic isn't the same because I don't get what brought me in.
And you don't strike me as a type that's gonna be like, oh, well, when they were smaller,
right.
and they were my thing. That's not you.
That's not at all.
So it's like the fact that he's saying that just shows a real self-reflection issue. It's like you're trying to overcompensate by blaming. It's that same shit that Eminem did. It's like you're blaming everybody else for shit, and it's like, look, it's not even that you're saying his music is bad. The shit that you don't really care for. You're not saying it's whack.
Right.
No.
You're just saying you prefer the other shit.
Exactly.
And it's like, I didn't read any type of issue with that line, that shit that you just read, because I don't really think that deeply about Logic like that anymore. Right. It was just, I read it and I was just like, man, you sound very defensive for no real reason.
So that stuck out to you too?
That stuck out with me throughout the entire project.
Through the project.
It sounded to me that it was a very defensive Logic, putting on this air of, I'm the best rapper alive, I'm so successful, I'm this, I'm that, I'm everything, as a way of deflecting the people that are saying that he's not. All people have been saying was they prefer
that sound, yes.
They prefer that old sound.
Right.
So it almost seems like a very childish thing
Here
to
you
do.
go. Like, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah, it's like, I can still do this, fuck y'all.
Yeah.
But that's not what we were saying.
Which he made a very, very conscious effort to show that. Like there were, like he did a triple, quadruple time flow on one of the songs.
Yes, like 100 miles of running.
Yeah.
On 100 miles of running.
Which I do like, by the way.
Yes, and that's another sample that he used.
Man, that was a good song.
It is. And that's another sample he used from the original Young Sinatra's, just like Street Dreams 2, just like Young Sinatra 4.
Wait, that song or the, I'm sorry, I was talking to Myke.
The samples. See,
on 100 miles of running?
Yes, he used that on
that before?
Yes, on the original Young Sinatra.
The sample or the same beat?
The sample, Cam.
Okay.
Yeah,
the sample. I gotta say the sample.
So front like that.
The sample. But that's what I love about artists, and I've said it multiple times, where an artist can take a piece, a sample, a lyric, and make it into something else. Because if you're a true fan, you're gonna pick up on it. Oh my God, like he just took this little piece and made it into something else. And that's why I can't say I dislike this. I don't dislike this. I like this because me being a Young Sinatra fan, he touched on a lot of those heartstrings from the previous Young Sinatra projects that I'm like, damn, this is why I fell in love. But this project, I enjoyed it. I think Thank You was dope. I would have liked to heard the voicemails toward the end, just keeping it consistent, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Because it makes you want to skip. I mean, it's you're creating a skippable track.
It feels like an outro.
I skip it after the voicemail start. I go to the next song.
That's
Yes.
my point. It's like,
Why at the beginning?
who was looking for this? It just seems to me like a look what I got moment. That's just how it comes off. It doesn't come off as really like an appreciation. It comes off more like he's, like I said, he sounds extremely defensive throughout this whole shit. And that just kind of played into it. But if you're saying it's consistent, he always does it, maybe I just never noticed.
It's always at the end.
Yeah, it's at the end. Everybody Dies, The Return, that was good, glorious. I want to say it was one day that it just seems like ever since he got with No ID, he's been chasing like a Kanye sound.
You thought that sounded like Kanye?
That
sounded like a fucking Macklemore cover song.
Yep.
Is that The Ordinary Day? That's what you're talking about?
Both of them.
It's called One Day.
And Ordinary Day.
Yeah.
Sounded like Macklemore cover
it
song.
did.
Yeah, it did.
Y'all can get mad if you
They
want
really
to, but
They
it
really
did to
did.
me.
They really did.
Nah, it does. When that track came on, I was like, there's the Logic that we come to know. Like the other Logic, this boom bap.
I don't know that Logic.
Logic has been making those type
Really?
Yeah. Ever since
Yes.
ever since he signed to Def Jam. And remember who signed him to Def Jam? No ID. And this was coming almost, I don't want to say right off the heels of graduation, but that was the last project No ID was like in like that. So a lot of those sounds No ID and Logic were experimenting with. And Logic has used them ever since
But I
in all
never
his
got anything
projects.
this poppy.
I don't remember. Yeah, on Incredible True Story.
Yeah, Incredible True
and
Story.
everybody.
Or
I don't
any of
remember.
those. I don't remember anything
hearing
this
that.
poppy.
Yeah.
But I was excited to see the Wu-Tang Forever. I was interested by the title because I'm like that was Drake's thing.
How do you feel about the song?
The
verse.
It was lackluster to me.
It
It
was
was cool.
really.
It only got lackluster once you got to the level B Wu-Tang features at the end. And I'm not dissing them
like
because they
Master
did good
Killer,
verses.
yeah.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like how Ghostface don't sound like Ghostface?
Yes,
Okay.
I agree with you before though.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I was gonna say. When Ghostface came on, right? Originally, when I heard it, I didn't think that. But then when you said that after I was playing the Ghostface project, I was like, Rod tripping, and I listened to him. Like, damn, that nigga right. He right. He don't sound the same.
His verse was still dope.
It's just it's not.
It's just the way his voice just doesn't sound the
It
same.
don't have that same level of smoothness to it, that player pimp, you know, that was made him
Method
different.
Man and Raekwon took that song anyway.
Nah, they did.
They owned it.
It was way too long to
But
me.
It was
but I appreciate that. You got every single person
member.
from Wu.
Yep. And, you know, he wanted to go throwback, get the whole posse.
But
cut,
yeah,
get the
it was
whole
I thought that was
thing.
cool.
I know.
I thought it was cool.
I didn't like the. I didn't care for the beat.
Yeah, I didn't care for the beat either.
I didn't
it
care for
was
the
just-
beat either.
It was very
Yeah.
simplistic.
That's and it was the same. I was hoping it was gonna be a
You
little
could make some
switch
songs
Like
up.
switch it up. You got these many people on to do a beat switch.
And
or something.
it's this long. I was hoping for the beat to switch up a
Yeah.
little bit. I'm like, God damn, they keeping the same
Right.
beat.
Because you switched the
Like-
beat up on what is it? Iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best song on this whole fucking shit.
Yeah,
That sounds just like the J. Is that why he?
It's not the same, but it's similar.
Because when I heard it, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this sounds just like Icon. I'm like, it's.
I was a little
sounded-
disappointed that he didn't actually rap on it. Though.
That's what I thought he was. When he started talking, I'm like, damn, is he
Jaden
about to rap?
I thought he was going to rap. I was like, I want to hear. I want to
He
hear
never put
rap.
that feature Jaden Smith. All he did was
And
just say a couple words.
And it had a
and
similar
sounds.
type of production as the Icon song. It's like they gonna have him rap on
That
it.
was
Right.
weird.
Yeah.
The beat switch was dope too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
That
but it
shit
still
was
sounded
crazy.
like it still reminded me of Icon though for some
It
reason.
does,
Yeah.
but it still was. It was different though.
Yeah.
But my favorite, man, was Young Sinatra IV. Just because I'm a Young Sinatra fan, and every Young Sinatra has had this beat or a different version of this beat on there, and I just think, like on that, I don't know, man, it's just it's classic Logic to me.
Song is dope. Song is really dope. And I liked when he switched and started rapping from the perspective of money. I felt like that's where the bars really came in. Like, he was rapping his ass off the whole time, but that shit about no matter what year I'm in, I'm currency. I thought that was dope. I just didn't get what the point was. Why did he just all of a sudden switch to talking from the perspective of money? It didn't seem like it made any sense. It seemed like that should almost be its own song, because it was like at first he's just rapping to rap. And then he says something like, well, let me switch the subject or something like that. And then he just starts rapping from the perspective of money. I didn't get the point.
Pretty much all of the Young Sinatras, it was always about the come up. So if this is gonna be the last one, then I kind of understand it being from the perspective of money, because that's kind of like where
not in
he
that
is.
come up
Well, if the whole
Exactly.
song was that, I
No,
would have
I
got
feel
it.
you,
But it was random as fuck.
I feel you. I
don't get it.
I'm just trying to make sense of it.
Sure.
You know,
I think this album kind of addresses like this division that he's noted and that he's noticed with his following, and he's making the decision to go with those that have propelled him to where he's at now.
Of course, and it makes smart business sense, because let's be honest, like Logic hasn't been bigger ever since he's become the voice for biracial, ever since he's become the voice for mental problems and things like that. And again, I don't have no problem with that, but it's just, again, personally from a fan's perspective, I know what made me love Logic, and you know, for me it was a little disappointing for him to say that this is the last one. Because now, moving forward, it's just gonna be, at least for me, more stuff that I didn't love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, it's not saying that he's whack or he's this or he's that. It was just that I felt, you know, and I think it goes back to even what he said about the culture, right? Like he makes music for his fans. He doesn't make music for the culture. And I think that when you listen to the Young Sinatra mixtapes, it's like, bro, this was all for the culture. Like you were taking, again, these beats that some people, young people will say are old and dusty. And you added a whole bunch of layers to them, and it's like, yo, this some new shit. Ain't nobody else doing this. You know, and I feel like that's what propelled him, and he was doing it for the culture. And now that he's the voice of certain, you know, things, that's where he wants to go. And
You're
I'm not saying
abandoning that culture now.
Huh?
You're abandoning
exactly.
Yeah.
He said, "What is the culture? What is that? I don't know."
Oh Jesus! Seriously, this is starting to irritate me. Did he
What?
really say that?
Yeah.
He's saying, "I don't know what the culture is. What is that?"
He said, "What does that even mean?" Like, yeah.
Doing it
You
for the
know
culture.
goddamn fucking well what that means. Like, come on, bro.
Go ahead.
I don't understand. Like, why is this a thing? Like, if you want to make shit that's not the boom bap stuff, then just do it.
Yeah.
This is the equivalency of someone unfollowing you on Twitter and announcing to the world that they're doing it.
Yeah.
When you really secretly, like, don't really care that much. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
If he wants to make the pop rap and he's obviously immensely successful, then cool.
do it, yeah.
Clearly a lot of people are happy with that.
Right.
Of course you're gonna leave certain people behind, but so what? Don't worry
Don't
about
isolate them.
them.
Don't alienate them.
Don't isolate them and act like these people that prefer your other music are just being assholes,
Right.
or like you don't know what this rap hip hop culture thing is when you know good and damn well what they're talking about.
Right.
This is his words, not mine. I don't make music, and this is on DJBooth.net. I don't make music for hip hop, I make music for my fans. You know, they primarily love hip hop music. I love hip hop music. I used to have this thing in my head. I wanted to make music for the culture. And I was like, what is the culture even? I don't even know what that means. I'm just going to make music for people who like my music and they can spread a positive message. And that's it. That's what I do.
So what about the fans? If you're gonna make music for your fans, what about the fans that like Young Sinatra?
He's basically saying you're not a real fan if you're not following everything he does. And I fucking hate when artists have that perspective. If you don't like a certain thing, you're automatically not a fan anymore. I'm not a fan of Logic just because I like other Logic and I'm not a big fan of this other. Like, what does this even mean? You're acting like, oh, I don't know what the culture is. Well, I don't know what the fuck that statement is.
When I first saw that, it definitely made me feel a certain type of way, because it's like, for the first and foremost, making music for the culture just means that you're making great hip hop music. First and foremost, to me, my perspective. I don't care what everybody else's definition is. For me, is first and foremost you're making great hip hop music. Like, I'll give you a prime example of that, right? Like off of another Young Sinatra project, Young Jedi, with him and Dizzy Wright. Dizzy Wright wasn't the biggest known artist. You know what I'm saying? He was on the up and up with Strange Music and, you know, everything that they were doing with that. The way that beat is super airy, weird. You know what I'm saying? Both of you guys going back and forth. That's for the fucking culture. When I hear him in this statement say, I'm making music for my fans, it seems like you're targeting people to blow you up even further, right? Like, so your fans are suicide watch people only now? Your fans are only mental health people now? Like is that what your
It's
what your
the
true fan base
mainstream
is?
poppy type of sound
right.
that's
That's what I
blown him
got.
up. But for me, the first thing I was like, well, when you make music, you're always making music for your fans. So what do you mean by your statement, right? So, and that's where, you know, you kind of bring in what you're saying, like he's targeting a certain demographic of his fan base for that particular sound.
It's like when artists say these types of things, I feel like they don't even really think them all the way through. It's a reactionary thing.
Yeah.
Hip hop culture is critiquing me because I'm not making the boom bap shit. So therefore, I'm going to say I'm not a part of hip hop culture. Dude, no. Like, come on. Like, I don't know what else to say. This shit is just fucking frustrating. This is a cool album, but honestly, I outside of like 3 songs, the 2 Macklemore songs.
Overall, how do you feel about it, B? Because you ain't really said much.
Yeah, I thought this was cool. I mean, it was a good throwback to the Young Sinatra series that, you know, that I liked from the beginning. And I think this is probably the first project, I think, since Under Pressure. I guess as a whole that I've enjoyed, at least from front to back. Yeah, Young Sinatra IV is my favorite because just like Feefo, I was like, okay, it's the same sample, same beat. He used a lot of some of the same samples for some of the series, Street Dreams. You know, like I was like, okay, yeah. So I was like, okay, I see it. But yeah, overall, I thought it was cool. I mean, it was a solid project. I mean, look. Regardless of what people say about like Logic or whatever, corny or all that stuff, like dude can still rap his ass off.
Right. Overall, this has been one of my favorite Logic projects since the other Young Sinatras. I think it's something I'm going to be bumping. It's something that has replay value for me. It's something that made me fall in love with Logic. So it's definitely good to me in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I mean outside of a couple of songs that's I'm not a fan of One Day or Ordinary Day, but those are more of the poppy sounding songs on here. But this sound is something that I traditionally like, so it makes sense that I would like this more than some of his more mainstream albums.
I think it's cool. I think it's a cool project. I think Logic is rapping his ass off on this. Again, personally, I just think that he's not really saying anything that super sucks me in. But that's not a testament or a detriment to his style or his craft or his skill set. Like, dude can fucking rap. When I walked into this review, I really didn't know what to say to y'all because I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this. Only thing I felt definitively was that it sounded like he was upset and it sounded like he was lashing out. That's really all I got from this.
Favorite tracks for me, I'll take Everybody Dies, Young Sinatra IV, Street Dreams 2, give me Iconic.
Everybody Does, The Return, 100 Miles and Running, Young Sinatra 4, Iconic. Like it.
Young Sinatra 4, Legacy, Iconic, and Everybody Dies.
Yeah, I like Legacy. That shit got a vibe, man.
Give me Thank You, minus the voicemails, because I'm just going to skip over that part. Give me Young Sinatra 4, that song is dope. Iconic, definitely, because that shit's the best song on here.
If you're watching, I think first and foremost I want to say is it feels a bit disappointing for me being such a Young Sinatra fan that this is going to be the last one. I don't know if it's definitive or this is just something that's part of the story. I don't know. But either way, if this is the last one, I'm disappointed. But that doesn't mean that it's a detriment to anything else. I think that you've been highly successful. You are smart in how you're maneuvering and what you're doing and how you're doing it. I think that because I'm such a fan, I'm always gonna check something out, and I just hope to, gravitate to something like I was in the past. I don't know if in the route that you're going with the albums, if that's really gonna truly happen for me.
Logic, if you're watching, I felt the same way Feefo did when I found out this was the last one. You can rap your ass off. That's never been in doubt at all. And I think your story is an interesting one as I watch it from afar, seeing where you were and where you are now and where you may end up with the next 5 projects that you have, and just seeing how different people respond to you that are within the culture that you don't make music for. So we'll see how that'll play out, but overall this was definitely a good listen. I enjoyed it, and much success to you.
Yeah, Logic, if you're watching, solid project. Like I said before, man, like Feefo mentioned, I'm just a little disappointed. It will be your final series of doing this. But, like I said, solid. This is definitely a most replayable project that I listened to up for this review since Under Pressure.
Bobby, if you're watching.
He said don't call him Robert unless it's about that De Niro.
Oh, okay. Robert. That was a good line. That was a dope line.
That was a dope line.
All right, Logic, if you're watching, I know you don't give a shit about what I have to say, and that's fine. I wouldn't either if I were you, because I'm not the one that's making you rich. But what I will say is that I wasn't disappointed that this was the last one, because I saw your kind of switch up. I like the other ones. We'll always have the other ones. And that's kind of really it. I think this was a cool project. If you were doing it for yourself, I'd say great, awesome, perfect. It didn't come across like you were really doing this because you had this in you and you just wanted to get it out. It seemed like you were doing this as a retaliation, and that's the kind of thing I just really don't get. But again, I know you don't really care what I'm saying, and yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So I'll see you on the spaceship.